Well, what's going on YouTube? It's been a while. Just wanted to take a quick second to thank everyone who's continued to support me. I've been going through some mental health struggles lately, which have made me kind of wonder if I wanted to even make content anymore. But lately I've decided that this is something that I'm really passionate about and I want to continue doing. So I'm not sure how consistently I will be making content in the future, but it is definitely something I want to continue doing. And I just wanted to thank everybody who has supported me, stuck with me through all of this inconsistency. So thank you so much. Enjoy the video. And we're coming at you with the first round from my Riley's Retro 2010 format tournament. This was held at NAIC a few months ago. I'm just getting the footage uploaded now, so sorry for the delay in getting that out. But this is the first round. We'll have Evan on the right playing DialgaChomp up against Aaron on the left playing Jumpluff. We see an early mulligan from Evan, gonna shuffle his hand back into the deck, draw 7 more cards. So this was a tournament that I held at NAIC. I actually held 2 different in-person, paper Riley's Retro tournaments at NAIC, gave away 2 full booster boxes of Scarlet and Violet, and I think another half or so to the finishers and top 8 from both tournaments, so was able to get some prizing out for people, and it was nice to actually have some in-person events unlike the TCGO events I used to hold. It's something that we had that's similar to that, but it's so much different in paper. It's so much better to have this face-to-face interactions, and we're going to go ahead and get this one underway. Now in 2010 the rules were a little bit different, so you'd actually set up before you began play, and then you would flip the coin to decide who goes first, and the winner of the coin flip actually had to go first. They also are not allowed to play trainers, stadiums, or supporters. So your first turn essentially just consists of attaching and passing, maybe benching a Pokemon or 2, and if you're lucky enough to find something like a Call Energy, you could get that down. In this case, Aaron went first, was only able to attach an energy to this Azelf. And Azelf is one of those Pokemon that you don't really want to start it. It has a when you play it from hand onto your bench ability, lets you look at your prizes and swap a Pokemon from your prizes with a card in your hand, kind of like Hisuian Heavy Ball in today's standard format. Not something you want to be starting with. Meanwhile, Evan is starting with a Pokemon Collector, which is the ideal supporter to be playing on your first turn of the game. I'm going to go ahead and look through the deck. And actually, if you'll notice, Evan's deck was 100% signed by friends of his. This is a project that myself and some other friends of mine have done. I actually stole the idea from Evan here. When I saw that he was getting cards signed by people, and actually you'll see the Staraptor on the bench was actually a card that I signed for him, so it was really funny to see him actually get to play this. And there's a little bit of glare, but you can actually see the little signatures, little doodles and stuff like that on some of these cards. So Evan will get the Blaziken down, which is going to be pretty decent in this matchup. It has the Luring Flame Attack, which can be used to bring up Claydolls. The level X is also really strong. Also going to get down a Dialga, the Garchomp, and that Staraptor that we mentioned. So pretty good opening from Evan. Did with an energy attachment though, which is a little bit unfortunate. And then the turn will pass back over to Aaron, who gets the Roseanne's Research. Gonna grab a Baltoy, and just looking through the deck, gonna grab a Hoppip. So we definitely want to be able to get your important evolution Pokemon in play. A little bit unfortunate again from Evan not to find an energy last turn. It means it's going to be that much harder to pressure this Jumpluff deck, and that's something that's really important in this matchup particularly, is you either want to put a lot of pressure out early with with Garchomp, or use the Dialga's Deafen attack to really stunt their setup as Jumpluff. But Aaron already going to get a pretty good start here with the Broken Time Space, letting him evolve directly into that Claydol, energy down to the Hoppip, and a setup for 5. You see Evan with a little hand motion there. So in this format, there was actually a single card that could be played on your opponent's turn called Power Spray. Evan does not seem to have one in his hand. So Aaron going to go ahead and get that setup from the Uxie, and a rare candy into the Jumpluff. So you are actually able to evolve Pokemon on the turn that you played them with a rare candy in this format. And he also has the Broken Time Space in play. So really going to see a lot of quick evolutions here, ideally if you're Aaron. And there is the Pokemon Communication, putting back a Skiploom. Gonna look through the deck, And the Jumpluff here, you want to find more Pokemon if you can. Would love to take an early knockout on this Toxicroak that's in Evan's active. And the Jumpluff deck is really good at just kind of taking early aggression, early knockouts. You are able to fill up your entire bench with support Pokemon. You know, you have Uxie and Claydol that you can really abuse as bench sitters, who also boost the damage of your Jumpluff's attacks. Aaron's going to go ahead and grab this Hoppip, throw that down on the bench, and we'll see what else he has here. Looking for, I'm not even sure you're looking for too much else at this point. I think you probably would love to get another Jumpluff down if you could. So there's the second Uxie setting up for, I believe it was 5, the pay of the retreat, and we will see a mass attack for the knockout on this Toxicroak. And like I said, just good to take the first prize here. You want to take that early aggression if you're able to. And Evan kind of wondering what to promote here. I believe the Staraptor level X has free retreat, so pushing up that Staraptor, and we'll see what he has this turn. Definitely looking for some energy from Evan. I think at this point it's unfortunate that the Deafen probably is a little bit too slow. I guess you could find the Dialga level X here and maybe put out some pressure that way. Hope your Dialga does not get knocked out in one hit from that Jumpluff, but it feels a little bit slow at this point. Your opponent already has a fully set up board with that Jumpluff. So we'll see if Evan can even find energy to put out any pressure this turn. And gonna go ahead and grab an Uxie off that Baybase, throw down an Unknown Q, and we're gonna get the Uxie set up for looks like 4. Looking for some energy. The energy gain is pretty useful, but still no energy off that setup. Did find an SP radar, so we can at least go find that Staraptor level X. The SP radar functioning similarly to Pokemon Communication, except you can put any card back from your hand and you can only use it to find SP Pokemon. In this case, it's going to be that Staraptor level X. Staraptor level X will be able to search out any supporter that Evan wants from the deck, and does also give that free retreat. So now we can have the pivot into whatever Evan wants here. Energy gain's useful, but I'm not seeing any energy to combo with that. So we might just see an awkward send up something as a sacrifice here. Evan does have one more Uxie, so we can still set up, and there's finally some energy. Wow, 3 energy off the rip. And that was what Evan was looking for, but again, it's like, what do we attack with at this point? We didn't hit the Dialga level X, so that Dialga, if you use Deafen, you're just going to commit an E-Gain and a Metal Energy just to let it die. Doesn't feel like the best situation, so we might just see an attachment to the Blaziken or the Garchomp to set up for an attack next turn. I don't believe there's a Garchomp level X in the hand either for Evan. We could potentially use Dragon Rush that way if there were, take out that Claydol on the bench, which is definitely a pretty tasty looking prize. But nope, just going to be the retreat into the Uxie and probably just a pass here onto Aaron's turn. So not the best turn from Evan, definitely got his board established a little bit more, but oh, there's the warp point immediately. And Evan's probably going to have to sacrifice this Dialga. It feels like, yeah, it's too late at this point to go into any kind of disruption strategy. Deafen doesn't really do anything. It only deals 10 damage at this point. You don't want to commit something like that energy gain and a metal energy just to something that's going to get knocked out. And the War Point sends up the Uxie with a multi-energy, and then we see a Judge. Judge is a really good card against these SP decks. They don't really have an inherent engine on board, but you do see that Staraptor down for Evan, so this is going to be a really key card in helping him recover from this Judge. And he'll be able to just kind of fish out maybe a Cyrus's Conspiracy, anything that he is able to, anything that he's going to need for the following turn. He'd be able to at least get that supporter guaranteed. Meanwhile, Aaron's going to Pokemon Communication. Looks like we got a couple options in hand. We got that Hoppip, can throw that back into the deck. And another key thing about the Judge in this matchup particularly is that disrupting these SP decks means that they don't necessarily have access to their energy gains. their Poke turns, but especially the power sprays. So you want to be able to disrupt them, put them on a low hand size. That way you're more likely to be able to use your own abilities, can play around them having a power spray, since most of these decks usually only play like 3 or so. And we see the payment of the retreat into the Jumpluff and the knockout here. I think this was a little bit of a misstep from Aaron. If we're always going to be playing that Warp Point, I think you could have actually retreated from the Jumpluff first and then used the Warp Point to bring something else up and then put that Jumpluff in the active after the Warp Point. That way it's your attacker, you don't waste the energy. I guess you could have preserved your options, but you're most likely just going to be taking a knockout with the Jumpluff there. So I think a little bit of a misstep. You end up losing out on that 1 energy. Not going to be super impactful, I don't think, but would be nice to just have that extra energy maybe committed to this Skip Plume on the bench instead of having it in the discard pile. Meanwhile, Evan did top deck the Uxie at level X. We saw a trade-off, and now I think we're going to be seeing the fast call, I believe, is the power on this Staraptor. So I mentioned that the level X, the SP decks don't really have an inherent draw engine or anything like that on the board, but this little combo here of trade-off from Uxie into the fast call from Staraptor means that Evan is a lot more resilient against hand disruption and is able to find those pieces in the deck to keep his strategy moving forward. The Uxie's ability is not going to be finding too many cards. You know, you're only getting 1 card from the top of your deck and then putting another one on the bottom of the deck. So you're not able to dig super hard, but it's just a little bit extra, able to dig just that much further through the deck. And then you can obviously get supporters like this Cyrus off of the Staraptor. And we see Evan playing that, getting a Fire Energy, SP Radar, and a supporter will be the 3rd choice here. And Cyrus was pretty much the entire engine that made these SP decks function. Most decks usually played 3 to 4 of them. You could get basic energy, supporters for next turn, and any Team Galactic's Invention trainer card. Most of them being Power Spray, Energy Gain, or Poke Turn. Those are the kind of 3 big ones. SP Radar as well, to keep your draws moving. And here we see the level up onto that Blaziken, an attachment, and we're probably going to see a Luring Flame. Yep, and we see that to bring up the Claydol. Now this is a huge play for Evan. Not only does this strand this 2 retreat Claydol active, but in 2010 format, Pokemon could not use their Poke Powers if they were affected by special conditions. So this is really huge because it turns off the Claydol. And I actually don't know if Aaron even used Cosmic Power last turn. I don't remember seeing it. And they do only have 3 cards in hand after evolving into that Jumpluff. So I'm not sure if they just didn't use the Cosmic Power last turn, but they might be in some trouble now. And yeah, we're just going to see the pass back. 20 more damage going on to that Claydol from the burn. And Evan just was able to buy back some time that was missing from those early turns where he wasn't able to find energy attachments to put out a ton of pressure. And this is going to be huge because if he's able to get an attack off with something like this Garchomp, he can snipe around the Claydol and leave it stranded in the active and not really give up anything to Aaron, kind of force him to find the right cards, force him to make the next move. So Evan's going to play this Cyrus, grabbing another energy gain, a Psychic Energy, and we'll see what the supporter is here. And I'm interested to see, there is the the Garchomp in deck, so I don't know if we have one in hand or if we had an out to one. I think maybe there's this is SP Radar, so we're going to go ahead and grab this Garchomp most likely. And if Evan could combine this with something like a Crobat, which he does grab right here, this could be huge. Putting 10 damage on a Jumpluff with that Crobat's Poke Power, and then using Dragon Rush to put the final 8 damage counters, the final 80 damage onto a Jumpluff to knock it out. That could be a huge swing in this match for Evan. He is down 2 prizes, but it feels like this situation is really stabilized. See the Premier Ball to grab that Garchomp, so Evan is going to be able to get this huge KO on a Jumpluff most likely this turn. It seems like that's kind of what he's setting up for. And we'll have to retreat this Blaziken, which is a little bit unfortunate. You do have to have the Pokemon in the active position to level it up. So we'll have to pay the retreat, unfortunately. And do see the energy gain, the level up comes down, and then I have to imagine the Crobat's coming down. We're going to see the 10 damage on a Jumpluff. Yep, it goes after the one with energy. And then we're going to see this Dragon Rush to take the KO on that Jumpluff. I'm not sure. This might be the fast call here from the Staraptor. Yep, looks like it. Gonna grab that Aaron's collection. Probably just thinning the deck at this point. I'm not sure if Evan has already used the trade-off, but there goes the Dragon Rush, taking the first prize for Evan. And it's a really big one. Again, it leaves this Claydol in the active, which does not take damage this turn from that burn at least. But it's still kind of stranded. You almost want this Claydol to get knocked out at this point. Would love to find a Warp Point if you're Aaron, but this is definitely a situation that kind of spiraled out of control very quickly. I'm not sure if Aaron plays something like an Unknown G, but that could have been a way to play around this by putting that on the Claydol. But we are here now. Aaron definitely looking for a way to get this Claydol out of the active. And I think we just saw an Expert Belt committed to the Jumpluff. So that's a little bit scary. You know, you only have 110 HP and does give up 2 prizes. Could be something like the Blaziken that can go to take that out. And we did see the Unknown Q attached to the Claydol, but no energy to follow that up. So just kind of sitting here waiting for something to happen. Evan has all the board control right now. And I mean, even an energy attachment, and this actually goes back to that play I mentioned earlier with the Warp Point, because if Aaron had not played the Warp Point in the way that he did, he would have been able to have an extra energy in play potentially and put an energy on that Jumpluff instead of the Uxie to retreat it the turns previously, which means that there would have been the potential to attach to the Claydol this turn and retreat with the reduced retreat cost of the Q into the Jumpluff and take a knockout. I'm not sure if there's enough in play at this point, but at least being able to get the Claydol out of the active would have been a huge play there. And we just saw a pretty quick turn from Evan, just going to go into the Dialga. And now this is a great situation to come in with this Dialga, use Deafen, just get a little more chip damage on that Claydol, but you're not knocking it out, so still keeping it stranded, but now also trainer locking Aaron. So now Warp Point is no longer an out. There's the commitment of the multi-energy. Pay the retreat into the Jumpluff maybe, or an Uxie here. It feels pretty bad either way. At least this Dialga itself is not doing a ton. It's not really super pressuring you, but this Jumpluff here with the Expert Belt and no energy on it is really, really scary situation to be in if you're Aaron. You don't want this taking unnecessary damage, since it does give up 2 prizes if it's knocked out with that Expert Belt equipped. And not really the position you want to be in if you're Aaron. And again, it really goes back to missing that energy attachment on this Jumpluff a few turns previously. I don't mean to go super hard on it, but it feels like this is a situation where if you had this energy in play, you're in a much better spot. You're putting a lot more pressure on. And instead of that, you're just giving Evan all the time in the world to just sit back, use these Dragon Rushes, use Deafen, kind of just take control of the board. And it feels like it just switched just like that into Evan having complete control of the game. So there's the Deafen. Top deck of a Skip Loom looks like from Aaron. Not the best, not something we really want to see here, but we do have a Cosmic Power at least. Evan not having a Power Spray yet again, so I have not seen a single Power Spray out of Evan. I wonder how many he's playing in this list. Have to imagine it's at least 2 or 3. Most lists did play about 2, 3 or so, but haven't seen one yet. He hasn't even targeted one with a Cyrus either, so not really able to deny these abilities, these powers, excuse me. And I think it's kind of going to give Aaron an out to get back in the game. You see him getting the Bebe Search off this Cosmic Power, can thin out his hand again. The Broken Time Space still in play, so we can get a second Claydol down, can use another Cosmic Power. And this is going to be Aaron's route back into this game. The only awkward thing is we've now filled the bench for Aaron. There is no room for a replacement Hoppip, so of course you can get them out really quickly with the Broken Time Space or Rare Candy, some combination of those, but you don't have the bench space for one right now to kind of set one up and get an attachment down to it in future turns. So second Cosmic Power here, and we'll see what Aaron gets. Definitely looking for that energy. I do see one at the back of the hand there. And there's the attachment, and we'll see the mass attack. This will definitely be taking a KO on the Dialga, but again, you're really not progressing too much at this point. Like, you were able to get out of that really poor situation if you're Aaron and kind of stabilize your board a little bit more, but you're still very much behind at this point. I know you're ahead by 2 prizes, but this Jumpluff in the active, even just having that 10 damage chip on it is really important, since the Crobat with Flashbite can come in, get a little bit more residual damage on there. You could even see the Blaziken coming in and taking a KO at some point. And again, you don't have a return Hoppip on the bench ready to follow this up. So we'll see the trade-off from Evan. Still have that Garchomp on the bench with a DCE ready to go. But I think you definitely want to deal with this active Jumpluff if you can. But, you know, looking at Aaron's board, the 70 damage on this Claydol is really scary, because all we need to see is a single Crobat, and you can put the 10 damage on the Claydol to knock it out, and then use something like a Dragon Rush to take another prize. You could take a huge 2-prize turn. And like I was saying, you know, for Evan being at 5 prizes, Aaron ahead on prizes at 3, this can easily turn around immediately. And there we see the attachment and the Galactic Switch onto this Blaziken plus the Expert Belt. So this will actually pick up the KO on the Fire Weak Jumpluff. And Evan's going to tie up the game, take 2 prizes off of this Jumpluff. And what does Aaron have left? We're now still in this very precarious position where the Claydol is only 10 damage away from being knocked out. So Evan is effectively at 2 prizes if he's able to find just a single Crobat, which I believe he already Poke-turned out of play. And this is going to be a really scary situation for Aaron. Promotes the Claydol. It does have 1 retreat because of that unknown Q attached. So I guess everything else on the board except for the other Claydol had 1 retreat anyway, but kind of weird to see that pushed up. And then probably considering something with the Cosmic Powers, we do see an immediate Crobat and a Poke-turn to put down the Hoppip. So finally finding a little bit of an attacker. We have the Hoppip and Skiploom down immediately. And Evan didn't even seem like there was a Power Spray in hand with that Crobat. It's kind of something from 2010 that was some mind games, really. If you bluff that you have Power Spray or bluff that you don't have Power Spray, your opponent can take lines kind of assuming that you do or don't have one in hand, and then you can just surprise them when they're really relying on having access to a certain power that turn and cancel that out with the Power Spray. So a little bit of mind games, and again, Evan having not played a single Power Spray to this point, Aaron has to keep that in the back of his mind. Like, do I really want to go super hard and commit to needing a power this turn? He's kind of forced into it though, because this Blaziken does have to be dealt with. There's really not another choice or anything like that, but just something to be mindful of. Like, you can't just go down to a 0-card hand and try to set up assuming that your opponent doesn't have the Power Spray. But we do see the Cosmic Powers coming through, so you have to assume at this point if Evan had a Power Spray, he would have considered using it somewhere out of this, maybe to preserve the Blaziken. I'm not even sure if this Jumpluff can pick up the KO on the Blaziken. We're hitting for 120, but no, especially with this Warp Point, that KO option is gone. And again, Aaron not having energy in play, not having a pivot option, needing to promote that Claydol meant that he had to play the Warp Point and attach from hand to a Jumpluff to get an attack off. He was not able to attach and retreat out of something and then also attack in the same turn. So a little bit awkward there from Aaron, not able to hit the big threat in that Blaziken and forcing something like this Uxie out that Aaron can take a KO on, but doesn't really do anything to deal with the threats that Evan has in play. Taking the prize is important here. I won't understate that. Like, you definitely want to try and race at this point, and there is that Blaziken with 10 damage on it. It does have the expert belt equipped, so if you're able to KO that, you do actually just win the game, take the last 2 prizes. But we see Evan using this fast call to find Bertha's Warmth. So this is a really rarely played card in SP decks. It actually just, I believe it just heals 50 damage from one of your SP Pokemon, something like that. It's kind of funny to see it in a deck that also runs Garchomp, since Garchomp's Healing Breath just fully heals all of your SP Pokemon. But we could see this coming into play to heal off something like the Blaziken, maybe to push it right out of a KO range. It's just a funny little supporter that you really don't see in these SP decks super commonly. But there is the Crobat going to take the KO on the bench, Claydol, and here comes the Blaziken once again, and Evan's going to have a huge swing turn of taking 2 prizes with this Blaziken, and I think we might even see, everyone's kind of counting out the damage, and there's the Bertha's Warmth, only healing 10 damage, but that damage is extremely relevant if Aaron were able to get some Crobat Flash Bites in on the following turn to pressure that Blaziken, maybe even another Expert Belt, some Poketurns, some combination of those, since Evan does have a full bench and did need to get there to knock out that Claydol. So it's a little bit scary. Evan could theoretically lose this turn. I do see a Power Spray in hand, however, so maybe that'll be enough to keep these Crobats from dealing any extra damage. We do see Palmer's here from Aaron, putting back a Jumpluff line and a Grass Energy. And again, we're in that same situation where there's no free pivot, there's no free retreat Pokemon in play to allow Aaron to get into a Jumpluff and attack with it this turn. Not having any energy in play is really hurting Aaron, and we might even see he might have to go for another Warp Point, take another prize off the bench, but I don't even see how that wins you the game at this point. I mean, I don't know if Aaron plays another Unknown Q to put on this Uxie, and it's unfortunate that you had to waste that if he does only play the one on the Claydol earlier. And it's also unfortunate he didn't have a Crobat in play. You can Poketurn it. It does also have free retreat. See a couple uses of that Crobat. Evan did Power Spray one of them. Curious to see why he went for that instead of the Cosmic Power. It's pretty clear that Aaron's going to rely on this Cosmic Power this turn, but I guess maybe the math would have worked out that that Power Spray denied the KO. I would have had to sit and think about it for a moment, since the damage adds up so quickly with this Jumpluff deck. But we do see the Cosmic Power, benching a Hoppip, and the Candy into Jumpluff, but you can't deal with this active. That's pretty much your only win condition at this point, is finding a way to get into this Jumpluff and also attacking the Blaziken. We see another Poketurn, and it's just going to be the pass, and Evan's going to just take the game with the Blaziken, knock out the Uxie, take the final prize.